It has been nearly 5 years since the mass shooting at Pulse nightclub in Orlando, Florida. 49 people were killed on June 12, 2016, and the lives of countless others were altered forever. Earlier this week, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis cut thousands of dollars in funding for a mental health program serving the survivors and family members of the victims. LGBTQ advocates are criticizing the move, but Governor DeSantis' office is pushing back, saying the state's budget actually increased funding to community mental health services. It also said allegations that the veto hurts Pulse survivors are, quote, patently false. Brandon Wolf joins me now to talk more about this. Brandon is a survivor of the Pulse nightclub mass shooting. He is also the media relations manager for Equality Florida. Brandon, thank you for being here. As a survivor of the shooting, what is your reaction to Governor Ron DeSantis cutting funds for mental health services for Pulse survivors and family members of those victims? And what do you make of his rebuttal?
Well, the governor's action was cruel. It was grotesque. It was timed intentionally. Remember, this is a governor who has been at war with the LGBTQ community for a long time. He's the governor who prioritized kicking trans middle schoolers off their soccer teams instead of fixing Florida's broken unemployment system. The Orlando United Assistance Center was formed in the wake of Pulse to help people like me, to give us access to resources so that we could get back into society. And the governor's decision to slash that line on the budget, this is a $100 billion budget, and this line item is worth 0.00015% of the budget, feels personal for us. I hear the governor's rebuttal. I've heard it from his office as well, that there are magical dollars out there for mental health resources for centers like ours. But my question is, show me the money. If you're confident that these dollars are there for Pulse survivors, show me exactly how many dollars are going to the Orlando United Assistance Center from these mental health dollars you're talking about. And if it's not $150,000 or more, then we have a serious problem and it needs to be fixed.
And Brandon, our viewers just saw your tweet from the aftermath of that tragedy with the governor when he promised you. And as I mentioned, you're also involved in Equality Florida. I'm wondering if you can tell us more about your mission and the other initiatives that you're working on.
Equality Florida is the state's largest LGBTQ civil rights organization. I actually joined a couple of years after the shooting. Equality Florida helped to raise almost $10 million for survivors of the Pulse nightclub shooting, dollars that helped me pay off student loans so that I could get back into the world after the shooting. I'm proud to be on staff. We do a lot of great work, including creating inclusive school environments, helping corporations and law enforcement agencies understand how to treat transgender people with dignity and respect. And a lot of our work right now has been pushing back against the transphobic and homophobic agenda of this governor and GOP legislators. I told you that the governor prioritized the trans sports ban, as we're calling it, but that's not the only assault on LGBTQ people that we've seen over the last year. Last year, we saw the legislature introduce a bill that would have put doctors in prison for providing life-saving care to transgender kids. There is a distinctly anti-LGBTQ agenda coming from the governor's mansion right now, and certainly coming from the legislature. And it's our job at Equality Florida to push back against that and to usher in a future that is equal and open for all in the state of Florida.
And Brandon, you're also the project owner for Honor Them with Action, a national campaign in memory of the Pulse victims. I want to give you an opportunity to tell us more about that, and then also, hearing you talk about the recent legislation. I'm wondering, 5 years later, if you feel like the LGBTQ community is more under assault now than pre the Pulse nightclub shooting.
Yeah, great questions. Thank you. Honor Them with Action is born for me out of exhaustion. Exhaustion with thoughts, exhaustion with prayers. It's the idea that we have to do more to honor the 49 lives that were stolen on June 12th of 2016 than just hollow sympathies. We have to do something. We have to make the world a better place. 6 days after the shooting, we had a funeral service for my best friend, Drew. And I was a pallbearer that day. I had a really hard time pushing his casket down the aisle because I didn't want to let go of my best friend until I'd found the right words to say goodbye. When we got to the front of that church, I looked down at his wooden box and I promised him that I would never stop fighting for a world that he would be proud of. That's what Honor Them with Action means to me. This year, we're really excited to be hosting a national moment of silence at 6 p.m. on June 12th. We invite everyone to observe a moment of silence with us. And in terms of the broader scheme of things, what can we do, right? And what have we done? Are we seeing backlash? The answer is yes. We've made incredible progress on LGBTQ equality in this country. In 2015, we made same-sex marriage the law of the land. In 2020, a conservative majority Supreme Court said that LGBTQ people should be protected from discrimination in this country. But at the same time, on a state and local and in many ways federal level, we're seeing backlash against the LGBTQ community. Ron DeSantis wants to run for president in 2024, and Republicans across the state of Florida want to get elected in a state that Donald Trump expanded his win in. And they've decided that those political ambitions will be built on the backs of the most marginalized people, and that means LGBTQ people, unfortunately.
You know, 5 years ago, 49 people never came home from the Pulse nightclub. You are a survivor of that. And I think given that we are honoring those lives and all the people whose lives were changed forever, I want to also ask, how else can people get involved this year?
I appreciate that question too. You know, I'm encouraging everyone to participate in all of the activities on June 12th. We have a national panel discussion alongside partners like Everytown and the Human Rights Campaign. That'll be at 5 p.m. You can learn more about that at honorthemwithaction.org. At 7 p.m., everyone can live stream the remembrance ceremony. And then the question is, how do you get involved in your communities? How do you do your part to protect trans kids in your community? How do you do your part to ensure that the most marginalized among us, Black trans women who face violence at a disproportionately higher rate than everyone else, how do you do your part to protect them? How do you finance and support and volunteer for organizations that are giving direct services to those who need it most? How are you helping to elect candidates who believe that every person in this country deserves to be treated with dignity and respect? Every single one of us has a role to play, whether it's pitching in $5 to your favorite LGBTQ organization, whether it's volunteering a few hours at the center, or whether it's getting out on a campaign and putting a pro-equality candidate in office. Every single one of us has a role to play in Honor Them with Action. It's not just thoughts. It's not just words. It's not just hashtags on June 12th. It's not just sharing our stories once a year. It is honoring those victims every single day with our actions by creating a world that they would be proud of.
Brandon Wolf, thank you for joining me, and thank you for inspiring action.
Thank you. Great to be here.